If you asked 100 people, 99 of them would say that the biggest problem in this country is illegal migration. It affects everything.
December 2022, I had my thumb bitten off by a Deliveroo rider, and it's changed my entire life.
It's about deportation. These men are illegally here. They pose a risk because we've got no background checks. We don't know who they are, what they've come from. There is no way that the man who came and assaulted this girl after 8 days did not come from having some kind of criminal background. You don't just suddenly come into a country and within 8 days sexually assault a child.
What are the biggest issues that you see as facing Britain right now?
I think obviously immigration's the big one for most of the people here and most of the people in the UK. I think what we're seeing with the illegal immigrants, it is a national emergency. As Nigel says, we have no idea who a lot of these people are. They're deliberately getting rid of their documentation and whatnot before they enter the country. And then just in general, I mean, obviously legal immigration has been too high for a long time. We've had consecutive governments, obviously with the Tories beforehand, who have voted in on lowering immigration to tens of thousands, and that hasn't happened. So I think that's why a lot of people have turned to reform. I think a lot of people are fed up. You know, I come from Blackburn. That's a town that's had a lot of changes in a very quick time because of immigration. And I think a lot of people are just genuinely fed up and see the changes that it's made in terms of your housing, your school places, the NHS, the strain, just the extra numbers in such a quick amount of time puts on these public services.
We've got the hotels in our little village and it's having an impact on that. The safety of our kids, just basically a drain on society, aren't they? So
a lot of people accuse reform of stoking hate, tension, racism on the streets of Britain. What do you make of those accusations?
I can see how that can be considered in the sense that a lot of the discussions that reform is starting to have has been untouchable territory in the political sphere for a little while. Immigration has been a conversation that we haven't wanted to have. It's been somewhat of a settled issue. But I don't think that the party itself is at fault for that. And I think that sometimes that could be things that other people would say on the internet, or perceptions and interpretations of what has been said by others and blown out of proportion.
So I'm looking to become the reform candidate for the Maidenhead constituency in Berkshire.
You had something pretty horrific happen to you, and I wonder if you'd be okay to just recount what happened.
Yeah, sure. So in December 2022, I had my thumb bitten off by a Deliveroo rider. I ordered food on the Deliveroo app. Well, my ex-partner ordered food on the Deliveroo app, and the driver refused to come to the door for whatever reason. And when you've been asking her for about 5 minutes to come to the door, and you know you've opened the door twice in the hope that she's going to come to the door and deliver the food, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to put my shoes on and I'm going to go and get the food. So as I walked up the road and I said to her, I'm from that house please, can I have the food please? And because she didn't speak any English, the only word she knew was code. So I'm not sure if you're aware, on the Deliveroo app you need a 2-digit code to be able to hand the food over. So I said to her, I'm from that house. If you give me the food, I'll go and get you the code, because the food was ordered on my ex-partner's phone, so I didn't have the phone. So then she screamed code at me again. So I raised my voice. I said, if you give me the food, I will go and get you the code. To which she then started to punch me in the face and punch me all over. As I put my arm out to keep her at a distance, my hand hit the side of her helmet and my thumb went through the visor to the point where she just clamped down and bit it off. I've got the picture here if you do want to see. And it's changed my entire life. She might have pled guilty to this, but then 2 days after she pled guilty, she was then seen working on the Deliveroo app on another account.
Obviously, the Labour government have proposed to work with these delivery apps like Deliveroo to crack down on people working illegally through account sharing. Does that give you any hope? What do you make of that? No, it doesn't give me any hope whatsoever, if I'm honest with you, because nothing's been changed. I sat down with Deliveroo and they said to me, until the legislation is changed, we're not going to make any changes because we don't need to. While we have a lot of things in place for people who open accounts, and we do the relevant police checks and we do soft checks on those people, if you've got a British driving licence and a bank account, it's generally pretty easy to open one of those accounts. But then you can share that account with anyone and everybody without doing any checks on the substitute rider, because the actual contract between Deliveroo and the account holder is that you're the person meant to be doing the checks. Now, if you're selling these accounts or opening an account to sell it online to make money,
you're not going to do any checks on anybody at all, are you? What needs to happen is the legislation needs to change that no account sharing can happen. We need to have relevant police checks on absolutely everybody that has an account, and we need to do some kind of face ID so that we know, right, you're going into whichever restaurant to pick up the food, you have to face ID that you're that person picking up the food. And then when you get to the location to hand it over, you then have to face ID before you can even ask for the 2-digit code, so that we know who you are throughout that entire transaction, and that we can have confidence that the person coming to our front door is of good character, has been police checked, and we know that they haven't got a violent or criminal background that we can either check or can't check because they're from another country.
How do you view what happened to you, and how do you place it within, I guess, problems with Britain's asylum system as a whole?
Well, I mean, the woman that bit my thumb off was going through the asylum process, so she had leave to remain, but she wasn't allowed to work. So it just goes to show that we're not doing enough, or the government aren't doing enough to be able to stop these non-workers from working, because these platforms don't stop anybody from not being able to earn money, and that's the incentive for them to come over. And that's what these criminal gangs are saying to people is, if you come over, we'll give you a job on the Deliveroo platform, and then they profit share between the account holder and the person who's actually doing the work. And we're housing these people in hotels, we're feeding them, all on taxpayer money, while they're earning money illegally.
The incident that happened before the general election in 2024. Was it Reform's immigration policies that attracted you towards them as a party?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I sat down with Richard, Nigel and Zia last year around launching this campaign, to change the way in which food delivery services operate. And it really gave me a confidence that they would be the ones to implement it, and they would be the ones to remove people who don't have the right to be here and have, a violent background and come from a country that we can't do any checks on them whatsoever.
So we are from Epping in Essex, where we have been trying to get the Bell Hotel closed down for the last 3 months. We've been organising and attending demonstrations for the last 3 months now. They started the demonstrations following the sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl in our area, but that came on the back of many, many incidents that had been reported to the police that weren't taken seriously. There has been so much trouble in our town, from shoplifting to sexual assault to men exposing themselves, stalking. It's just been horrendous. So we decided to start protesting about 3 months ago. Yesterday, the man that was arrested for the sexual assault was found guilty of 5 charges for a 14-year-old girl and an adult. So he's been sentenced in 2 weeks. We are obviously in a situation now where we desperately want the hotel shut down, but we also don't want those men to be dispersed into the community in HMOs, because that would be a disaster as well. So we have our protest, which is the Pink Ladies, which is across the country now, which started in Epping and Canary Wharf and is now going across the country, is about deportation. These men are illegally here. They pose a risk because we've got no background checks. We don't know who they are, what they've come from. There is no way that the man who came and assaulted this girl after 8 days did not come from having some kind of criminal background. You don't just suddenly come into a country and within 8 days sexually assault a child. So he's obviously got prior record. How many of these men have got prior records? So our movement is about protecting women and children and saying to the government, you are allowing thousands and thousands of undocumented men from cultures that do not align with ours, that disrespect women and do not have any respect for women, to come into our country and disrespect us. And that is unacceptable. We want them deported, we want the hotels shut down, and we want to restore some kind of respect and safety for our women and children.
Do you think deportation, as in having no hearing for the asylum cases, is the right answer? Or do you think they should still be able to have some form of asylum case?
In an ideal world, yeah. Look, so first of all, of course there should be an asylum system, but it needs to be an asylum system that works. If someone is genuinely fleeing a war-torn country, or they're seeking asylum, then yes, they should do it the legal way. Now, these men are paying between 4 and 5,000 euros to come across the channel. Where are they getting this money from to come across the channel? I don't know most people I don't know people who can afford to pay that money. Genuine, just normal, everyday people, they haven't got the money to pay for. So where are they getting that money from for a starter? So are they genuinely asylum seekers? Asylum seekers fleeing war, torn countries and, torment, etc., don't have that kind of money. That's the first thing. If they are genuinely here and they are seeking asylum, then process them. But in the meantime, keep them in a secure unit where they don't pose a risk. And then if they fail their asylum, they need to be deported straight away. There are men in Heathrow and in near Gatwick in hotels who have been there for months, who've failed their asylum, but they're being kept at the taxpayers' expense and not being deported. Why not? Why are they still there? So we need to get a grip on what's happening. And of course, every day, more and more are coming in. So not only have we got a huge problem, we've got this problem that is accentuated every day by more and more coming in. They need to close the borders and they need to process these men and deport them accordingly.
I mean, this Labour government, the previous Conservative government, they've tried to get a grip of the small boats crisis. They haven't been able to. Why do you have faith in Nigel Farage that he can do it?
Because he has to, because that's his promise. I think that is the most fundamental issue in this country at the moment, apart from obviously living, the crisis around living and the fact that people haven't got money and they can't afford to pay their bills, and there's a crisis around just people being able to, make ends meet. But if you put that to one side, I would say that if you asked 100 people, 99 of them would say that the biggest problem in this country is illegal migration, because it affects everything. It's not just about the sexual predators and the risk it poses, but the unfairness where people are breaking the law, coming in and being given all their amenities, all their meals, been put up in 4- or 5-star hotels where there's people that are sleeping in temporary accommodation with children in one room. So there's the unfairness of it all. If Nigel doesn't deal with that as his primary policy, he will lose the voters. That has to be the primary thing that reform inflict, and then that will have a domino effect on everything else, because then you don't have the kind of the strain on the NHS and the strain on finances and the strain on benefits. So I think that has to be something that they fundamentally push through.